And again, I'm sorry if the guitar is a little tinny. We're working together on the technical challenges. You do have a part in this song, and it'll make me happy to know you're singing along. Your part goes like this. Do 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 do. Do 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 do, just like that. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Dear Sky Man, up in the sky, are you friends with all the birds flying by? Or are you too high up to see them? Dear Sky Man, looking on us below, is there anything that you don't already know? Like where I will go, why, what, and when? My teachers tell me all of your stories of the miracles that you can do. Arcs and floods and a bush that is burning. I can only assume it's all true. They say I should love you. They say I should talk to you. And I try. I close my eyes and imagine a dude in the sky. Do 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 do. Sing with me. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Dear Sky Man, who created us all, can you really lift me up when I fall? Or are you too tall to reach down here? Dear Sky Man, do you like when I pray? Can you listen to every word that I say? From so far away, does it sound clear? My teachers tell me all of your powers, how you give people things they ask for, healing the sick and feeding the hungry. You could do all of this and do more. They say I should love you. They say I should talk to you. And I try. Close my eyes and imagine a dude in the sky. Do 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 do, sing along. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Now I know you're not really a man per se, but the image still forms in my mind. I've tried to change it, I'm not sure that I can, 'cause it's been this way for a long time. I want to be near you, I want to be close to you, and I try. But when I close my eyes, I still picture a dude in the sky. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. And since there can't be applause, maybe you can do like a little wiggle just for me to see that you're there. Oh my gosh. So that's what I thought, and sometimes still think. That image is very much at the forward of my mind. And for a couple of reasons, looking back, I feel like a lot of my life as an educator has been parenting my child self, looking back on my childhood and thinking, why did these happen? Why did I have these ideas? And it makes a lot of sense to me why I would think God was a big dude in the sky with a beard. Growing up in America in a Christian country, those were the images that surrounded me, from Western art, from ideas of Santa Claus. You know, I grew up with the song, Hashem is here, Hashem is there. Hashem is really everywhere, right? And that didn't sound so far from he sees you when you're sleeping and he knows when you're awake. Like that seemed very similar to me. So, okay, big jolly guy in the sky who wants you to do the right thing all the time. Great. Sounds like God to me. And also the language that we used to talk about God. The only names I knew for God were Hashem, meaning the name, and Adonai. Blessed are you, Lord. Blessed are you, Lord, and Lord, and Lord. All of those lords building up over time to create an image. I was also taught prayer and Torah as if they were literally true, which it's a beautiful thing if you believe that, and that's where your Judaism lies. But I'm the daughter of a conservative rabbi and a Jewish educator, and I know for a fact my parents did not think that those things were literally true, and yet they taught them to me as if they were literally true. So what does that say to a child, especially when you grow up older and you never learn these stories again? All of this together made it very clear to me that God was a dude in the sky with a beard who wanted me to do the right thing. And if I messed up, I was in trouble. I wanted to be a good kid. I wanted to do the right thing. And I was terrified of disappointing God. Absolutely terrified. And that's a difficult relationship to have. I was hard on myself because I thought God wanted me to be hard on myself. There was only good people and bad people. And that started coming apart as I got older. And I saw not just evil in the world, but nuance in the world. I was learning how to live in the gray, and that made me very uncomfortable because I didn't see a space for that in my Judaism. And it really came apart when I lost my father at the age of 18, when he died suddenly. And he had, to be honest with you, I don't share this part of the story a lot in concert, but it wasn't that thing which usually happens with tragedy, which is I thought good people were supposed to be rewarded. What's happening here? He did things towards the end of his life that hurt people. And I thought, oh, is this how it is supposed to be? You make a couple of mistakes and you're gone. I don't actually want to live in that world. I want to live in the gray. I want to live in the not knowing. I'll show you actually just because it's over here and he's been on my mind a lot. There's a picture of my Abba and me, just showing you because it was right over here. And so I didn't know where to turn. I didn't know what to do with that idea of God that I had thought of before. And I realized through looking closer at the Siddur, the prayers that I had loved so much, that I was not the first person to wrestle with this. In fact, there is wrestling going on all over the Siddur, all over our texts, all over our philosophy. And so what I try to do with these songs is engage with those ideas that are already in our tradition, expanding our ideas of God, asking questions, being good God wrestlers, good Yisraelim. And first, I found Anim Zmirot, this piyut, this prayer poem that's sung at the end of services. Now, when I was a kid, my synagogue didn't sing Anim Zmirot. My friends' more traditional shul did, and I loved that. I was a diva as a child. I started leading services because the bima was like a stage I could get up onto and dance around and sing. So that's how that started, and I wanted to sing Anim Zmirot. If you have a chance to study it closely, something I learned in high school is that every line of Anim Zmirot has to do with tefillin. Something about yad, hand, rosh, head. The proof texts for tefillin are in there. And it even talks about Moses seeing God's tefillin. And the reason that we don't say Anim, or the reason we say Anim Zmirot Shabbat is because we don't wear tefillin. And so it's a sub for our tefillin. Maybe one day I'll find those texts again and we can do that class. But then finally, as a 22-year-old in graduate school, I finally read what it meant. And it's a lament or a deep yearning of the heart, a love poem. I will never truly know God. We've prayed for 2, sometimes 3 hours, and we get to the end, and what do we say? We don't know, and it really hurts, and we're going to keep trying anyway. This is basically an almost line-by-line translation of Anim Zmirot. Songs I sing for you, poems I weave for you, I long for you, my soul, my soul. I desire to see shadows of what you can be, and all your secrets I wish to know. But each time I speak about you, I long for your love. So I keep singing about you, but it's not enough. Not enough. Lo ראיתיך ולא ידעתיך. לא ראיתיך ולא ידעתיך. Oh, from your prophet's words, from your prayers heart, see all I have is visions and names. Using imagination, divined by your creation, all these things are one and the same. But each time I think about you, I know it's not who you are. So I'll keep singing about you, though you're so far. You're so far, Lo ראיתיך. I've never seen you below ידעתיך. I do not know you, Lo ראיתיך. I've never seen you below ידעתיך. I'd love to know you. Crown upon your head, flowing garments of red, gorgeous curls falling all around your face. Show you're not to me, your glory I want to see. Please accept these words as my embrace. Oh, Lo ראיתיך ולא ידעתיך. Lo ראיתיך ולא ידעתיך. Oh, Lo ראיתיך. I've never seen you below ידעתיך. I do not know you, Lo ראיתיך. I've never seen you below ידעתיך. I'd love to know you. Thank you. Thank you for your hands and your visual affirmations. I'll tell you, it's been an interesting world doing prayer leading and music online, as I have been the past couple of weeks, because I'm not getting your energy, you know. I'm putting out and putting out. Usually when I'm in a concert, I'm feeling everybody's energy. I'm looking at their body language. I'm sensing them. But I can't do that now. So any little bit that you can give me is really remarkable. It really, really helps. And it's so beautiful that you all are here. So yes, I realized that I was not the first person to have these questions. In fact, Tanakh itself is wrestling with this, with its own theology. This is something that I learned from Rabbi Shai Held. Maybe some of you have learned with him before. His teachings have been really foundational in this, to hear, oh my gosh, a rabbi who's wrestling with this, and also talking about the fact that the farther away that you get from Torah, even within Tanakh itself, the farther away that you get from Torah, you are wrestling with the theology that was promised in Torah that's not being delivered in the real world. And the prophets and later the rabbis had to figure out, how do we make what we're seeing in the world fit with the theology that we have been given, right? It seems so present in Torah. God is talking to people, making things happen in the world. But then by the time we get to Elijah, Elijah doesn't see God in the thunder, the lightning, or the mountain, right? Elijah finds God in the still small voice, and the still small voice is something that we each have access to. So while sometimes I still lament how not present God is sometimes, how present God seems in the Torah. When God comes down from the mountain to give the Aseret Hadibrot, the 10 Commandments, the people freak out, right? They're like, get away, we can't deal with it. So maybe, hypothetically, we're actually closer than we thought we were. This should be number 3. Yes, I was going for both meanings in not. Quick thing, we could do like a whole hour on each of these songs. They're super like intertextual. Show Your Not to Me is both about the moment where Moses asks for God to pass in front of him, and God says, I will show you my tefillin knot, but also it's a nod to the idea by Maimonides that we can't know what God is, we can only know what God's not. And the author, I think, of Anim Zmi wrote, and me through writing the song, was saying, I want to know God so much, I will even settle to know what you're not. Just something, right? Just a little something. Oh, beautiful. I'll have to go these things. Oh, this is great. This is great, y'all. I wish we had like hours to chill. We're not going to do all the songs, but just some of them. This one is number 3. This was co-written by Sam Bluston, my amazing friend and soon-to-be rabbi, ordination pending. When Hagar called out to you in the desert, after being banished from her home, her son in need of water, her heart about to break, feeling so dejected and alone. Well, you sent them an angel who lifted them out of despair. Yes, you sent them an angel, Lord, and I don't even know if you are there. Are you the sound of the thunder? Are you the crash of the lightning? Are you the wind moving through the trees? Are you the fog that's surrounding? Ooh, are you even in the river or on top of the mountain, Lord? Are you the still small voice in the silence? When Abraham was up on the altar, about to sacrifice his only son, torn between a father's love and his love for you, fearful of what he might have done. Well, you sent them an angel who cast his knife into the air. Yes, you sent them an angel, Lord, and I don't even know if you are there. Are you the sound of the thunder? Are you the crash of the lightning? Are you the wind moving through the trees? Are you the fog that's surrounding? Ooh, are you even in the river or on top of the mountain, Lord? Are you the still small voice in the silence? At Sinai, they all stood together, heard your voice call from afar. Well, it was all so clear, and it was all so real. Here I'm left to wonder where you are. Are you the sound of the thunder? Are you the crash of the lightning? Are you the wind moving through the trees? Are you the fog that's surrounding? Ooh, are you even in the river or on top of the mountain, Lord? Are you the still small voice inside? Are you the sound of the thunder? Are you the crash of the lightning? Are you the wind moving through the trees? Are you the fog that's surrounding? Ooh, are you even in the river or on top of the mountain, Lord? Are you the still small voice? Can do like a breathe and wiggle. That's what I usually do after these songs. A breathe and a wiggle. Yeah, I appreciate it, everyone. No, I see you. I see you. So Tanakh is wrestling even with its own theology. So we're not going to sing all of the next song, but I just want to bring our attention to song number 4 from Psalm 27, which is the Psalm for the days of awe, or as I like to say, it's Psalm for the days of awe. It's funny to me. Thank you, Nigel. So good to see you. My father passed away over a summer. So the first big block of time that I was saying Kaddish for him was over the month of Elul, which meant that we sang Psalm 27 every day at Minyan. And after camp, because I went back to camp, I sat Shiva at camp, which is a whole different story of what that was like. And then I went to my gap year in Israel after high school. And it was good. We did Minyan, we prayed every day. There was a connection there. But every day we had to say Psalm 27. And in Psalm 27, it says, though my father and mother leave me, God will take care of me. And I could not say that in any sort of good faith. That was like my little rebellion against God. I would not say that line, and I would think, God, my father did not leave me. You took him. If this is what I'm supposed to believe about how the world works, you took him. And that's hard for me to understand. It wasn't until later, again, reading through these texts and realizing that the author of Psalm 27 is dealing with some stuff, okay? If you look at some of these Psalms that are like, the Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want, I'm lying down in a green field, everything's fine, everything's fine. Like, things are not fine. If you have to tell yourself that things are fine that many times, at least in my opinion, you are writing in a time of great uncertainty and panic. And the only thing that is keeping you sane is saying how much God is saving you and is going to save you. Just that like almost violent optimism and faith. And there's this part at the very end of the Psalm where it seems like the author is almost losing his train of thought. Lulei ha'amanti li wrote b'tuv Adonai be'eretz chaim. You know, if only I could be sure that I would see God's goodness in this earth. What do you mean if only you could be sure? You spent a whole psalm saying how you didn't even need your parents. God was with you so much. You and God are like this. What do you mean you need to be sure? And then the next line he says, oh, well, no. We can't have any of that thinking. Chazak v'ya'ametz libecha. Strengthen and encourage your heart. Hope in Adonai, that's the only thing I can do. Sometimes I find myself feeling like that psalmist, holding on to an idea of how God works in the world so fiercely that it keeps me from living, almost. It at least keeps me from being true to the reality that's going on around me. So we'll see if this works, but I just want to play you, if that works, I would like to play you just a couple of minutes. Oop, just a minute or so of the recorded version so that you get a taste of it. Share advanced computer sound. This should work. Where did I want to start? 129. We'll start it here. Can you hear it? That's all we're going to listen to now, even though right after this, it breaks and the Chazak v'yametz libecha comes in a completely different tempo, a completely different key. We're emboldening ourselves. I found these little gems all over our Tanakh, all over our Sidur, and it brought me back to a song that I wrote at least 8 years ago now, because it was back when I was in college. I like writing thematically. I had this idea to write a song for every, you can't yet, Naomi, because the album is not yet out, but here's what you can do. You can shoot me an email. I'll put my email in the chat and I'll put it there again in the end. If you'd like to be on my mailing list or to otherwise know when it's out, fingers crossed for next week. I've been working on this album for like a year already, and I'm just really excited for it to come into the world so I don't have to carry it anymore. You know, really feels like, I don't know, it's got to get out of there. Yeah, y'all are some of the first people to hear this. It's like, I don't know, it's pretty exciting. It's great. I'm so happy to get to share. So you can, through my website, you can join my mailing list, or you can email me directly. So yeah, well, hopefully it'll be out soon. This I want to play for you and then play a little bit from the album as well, though we're kind of running down our time. So I think I'll just play a little bit from the album for this one, if that's okay, because that seems to be meaningful. So like I said, I like writing thematically, and I was working on a project where I was writing a song for every blessing in the weekday Amidah, and it was going to be called Please Rise, Volumes 1 and 2. I thought was cute. I didn't do that, but the couple of songs that I wrote that I liked worked for me. And this was one of them. Looking back, when we ask the Holy One in our liturgy to turn us, because we know it's so hard and sometimes we feel so lost, asking for forgiveness every day. Forgiveness from what kind of God? You know, forgiveness from an Avinu Malkeinu, from a father and a ruler, forgiveness from a compassionate one. You know, I have a lot of Rahmanis, I have a lot of compassion for folks who only show up to synagogue on the holidays, because if that was the only time I came to synagogue and that's the only theology I got, I wouldn't want to show up anymore either. If we're being honest, you know, if that was the only version I got, I wouldn't really want that either. So this is kind of wrestling with that. And it's a very different vibe. I'll just play a little bit. You'll know what I mean in a second. I lose sight of you more times than I'd like to. Looking back, there's nothing I can see. But how can it be you don't lose sight of me, even when I hide from what is true? You've always stayed. Pull me back, draw me close, that'll be it for that. Did you hear my prayer? But you know, I listen to lots of different genres of music, including dance music, so it was really cool for me to get to explore that. But that desire, as I found that my faith was shifting, I felt a lot of grief. I felt like I was giving up God, because I thought, someone who wanted to be a good person and a good Jew, the daughter of a rabbi, I thought there was one way to believe in God, because none of the adults in my life were talking to me about it. And they just kept saying the word God as if they were all on the same page about what that meant. Like, why did they all get, like, they all got it, right? They all bought into this idea of dude in sky with beard with lightning bolts. And I was the one errant one who couldn't see that in the world. Of course, that's not true, but when we don't talk about it, this is what our kids think. And as an educator myself, I see this happen over and over and over again. When I work with teens and I do this kind of work, I usually say, have you ever been at a synagogue and you looked around the room and you had the thought, do all of the adults here really believe this stuff? Every kid raised their hand. Every single teen. We're not talking about it enough, right? So that's why I want to share my journey. I do a lot of work with educators and clergy. How can we be God expansive? How can we show that there is not just one way? And it's not a radical idea, because as I hope you've seen, it's in our texts. This wrestling and this expansiveness is in our text, including, and this was the big game changer for me, in the Kaddish. Well, that's number 6. And for this one, I'm going to show a video, and we can sing along from a time where I sung it in a group, so we can pretend that we're all sitting in concentric circles singing it together. We say Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal, a bunch of synonyms for praise. Praise, laud, exalt, glorify, extol. Many words I would never know if they weren't in the translation for the Kaddish. Like, I don't use extol or laud in everyday life, but I know these words because they're in the Siddur as translations for the Kaddish, right? So we're going to praise, 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 praise. Shmei Kuchabrichu, the name of the Holy One. Note it's not the Holy One, the Holy One's self, but the name of the Holy One. Le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata, beyond all blessing and song. So then if the Holy One's name is beyond all blessing and song, then what's the point of the lauding and the glorifying and the extolling? What's the point of all of that if we're not going to get close? We are a people of words. What prayer is for me is trying to put into words an experience of the divine that's primarily felt. It's primarily felt. And we desire to put it into words because we're human beings, and words are the way that we connect with each other. The double difficulty is that now we need to find our own meaning in words that we have been given from others. And that's hard. But this taught me that it's possible to live within the mystery, not just trying to wrestle with it, pretending it doesn't exist or fight it. And can everyone see this video screen here? Good. I hope that hold on, I forgot to do one thing, so I'm just going to share it again. I'm going to share computer sound so that it'll be a little easier to hear. So this is Le'ela. The me in the video is going to teach you how to sing it. So I hope that you will sing along. Imagine that you're here at the URJ Biennial in this circle, singing with us, featuring a rap spoken word piece by E. Prime Eden Pearlstein, who is wonderful. So let's experience this together. I'll sing the part first, and then we'll break it down. Can you hear? beyond all space and time, beyond the space of mind, beyond all the wind chasing after dollar signs. I'm trying to sanctify, I'm trying to anchor my statements to teach and toss the payment. The birds I read say your name, you're not there. I can't play the blame of thin air. I can't erase the rain with my tears. I can't face my pain and my fears. Got you near. It's so clear that you hear all that I don't say. You're always here before and will remain my action. I go later back to the beyond. I offer up this song to that which truly is there. I bring this offering. I know the good. I can see beyond all time. Let it So my friends, I'm so glad you got to join us in the circle, in the singing circle. It's really magical when we have so many people together. So it is currently 4:44. I would love to stop. We're not going to be able to do all the songs, unfortunately, but I'm so excited for you to hear the album when it comes out. Also, when we are allowed to visit places, I'd love to do it in your community, to share the music and the Torah. I often travel with my producer. His name is Ori Salzberg. He lives in Atlanta. He's fabulous. So does anyone have any questions in the last couple of minutes? If not, we can end with another song and then a blessing. Want to keep to the 50-minute time. So if you have a question, you can put it in the chat box, just because then it'll be easier to gather everybody's questions. It's okay if not. I wanted to break everybody into breakout groups, but I just don't think we have the Zman, unfortunately. Again, I could spend hours and days talking to people about talking about God, which is nice that is my job.
Eliana, can I take the prerogative of she whose name is Room D at the moment?
Yes, Room D.
To ask you how you are feeling, thinking, singing something about God in this moment, on this day of the time of COVID.
That is a really good question. I've been thinking about this a lot as someone who kind of, once my gigs started to be canceled and I saw the world around me changing, like jumped into action and started leading prayer online. It's been helpful for me to gather together with people. I don't live where my family lives, and this has been really beautiful for me, and I can, share those opportunities with you as well. But, everyone said you need to make sure to do a healing song, Amisha Berach. And those are really hard these days. Again, how you wrestle with God goes back to what you think God is, right? For me, the question is not, do you believe in God, but what do you mean when you say the word God, even? So it reminds me of a time when I was at Song Leader Boot Camp, this conference that I go to a lot. And our dear friend Angela Gold was there, and she was not doing very well at that point. She was in a wheelchair. She could barely talk. And her friend our good friend and musician, sang a Misha Berach that he had written and he could barely say it. It's one thing to pray for healing when sickness is not touching your life. It's another thing to pray for healing when it is. And I think about this moment a lot. So when I do tefillot, I try to make it very clear to people that I don't believe that any of this is happening so that we can learn a lesson. I don't believe that this is happening because God has a plan for it and we just have to wait and see what it is later. I do not believe that we're being punished by vengeful God. I think this did happen, if you dig into the science, a lot because of human beings' neglect of the earth and neglect of each other. God didn't do that. We did that, you know? So it's a combination of chance and neglect, but praying for healing doesn't mean that a lightning bolt is going to come out of the sky. And it certainly doesn't mean that only people who deserve it get sick. That's a theology that I cannot abide by, but it's a theology that a lot of people have, to be honest. But I try to make it clear in my leadership now more than ever that we pray for healing for ourselves because we need it, to remind ourselves that every life matters and that the healing of every life matters. Yeah, that's what I've been thinking about these days.
Thank you so much for that. I know I speak for others here now.
Do we have time? I know we're at 4:49.
We
don't really.
For the last session, we can go right up, I think, to the hour if we want. We have no need to let people go somewhere else.
So would folks be open to another song from me and then a closing? Yes. Okay, great. And if you're not, you can leave the Zoom room and I will not be offended at all. But I kind of.
So Eliana, let me say one thing.
Yes.
Before you leave, remember to save the chat and remember to put your email in the chat if you want Eliana to have it or others to have it.
Ooh, how do I save the chat? I don't know how to do it.
Well, you hit the little ellipse on the right.
Oh, save chat. Haha.
Yeah. So wait to do it to the end. We'll do it here. Oh, good. You taught me about audio. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Okay. So as you leave or as you listen, put something in the chat, especially your email.
And the easiest way to get in touch with me is through my website, elianalight.com, which will be updated soon. For now, it's the old version, but it's still me. So it shouldn't be a problem. And then to sign up to know when the album comes out. But where do I like doing this one? So in this journey from God being a dude in the sky to working on something else, towards something else, even though, as I said at the beginning, that image is still very clear. And I've actually, now that I've gone back through the other side and can recognize all the names we use for God as poetry and metaphor, I love Melech and Adonai in the moments when I need it. And I have understanding of the people that wrote those names and the relationships that they were having with the divine presence now. So it's actually easier for me to use those, again, now that I've come out the other side into metaphor land. So what is God to me? That's a big question that a lot of people ask me now. What is God to me? God is a word, G-O-D. It's just a word. That's why I spelled it with an exclamation point. It explodes it into a million pieces. It's not a helpful word. God is just a word for all that is. Yod He Vav He, God's Hebrew name, it just means is. It's being. It is. This is what is this connection that we have with each other. The last song that I want to share is more of a meditation. So I ask if you are willing to, if you want to kind of meditate along, if you want to find a comfortable place to sit wherever you are, to roll your shoulders back, to get comfortable, to allow your eyes to come to a close or to find a spot to focus on the floor. No need, but it is an invitation for you. I never understood the line from Psalms, Esa'inai el heharim me'ayin yavo Ezri. I lift my eyes up to the heavens, from whence shall cometh my help. If the Holy One is everywhere, what do we need to look up to the mountains for? Take a deep breath in. Start to follow the pattern of your breath after a long day of looking at screens. Take a moment just to see your own self in your mind's eye. I understand that now because there's a special feeling I get when I look at the mountains. It's a feeling that's really hard for me to put into words. It's awe and it's wonder and it's fear and it's love. It's a feeling of being small and insignificant and yet feeling so incredibly great because I'm made of the same stuff as the mountains. Gratitude that I live in a world with mountains at all. Love for this planet, the beauty of the world. It's really hard for me to put all of that into words. Sometimes I just say, wow, but I understand now what the psalmist meant by looking up to the mountains. So friends, what are your mountains? We might not be able to leave our homes, but we can travel anywhere we desire within our own minds and imaginations. What makes you feel small and big? What gives you that feeling of connectedness and love? Is it looking into a child's eyes? Is it the vast ocean? Is it the beauty of a flower? Or is it singing together? What is it that gives you that feeling? And can you take yourself there? When I forget, I'm as small as a speck of dust. When I forget, I'm as big as the universe. I look up to the mountains and my answer comes. We are one, we are one, we are one. I look up to the mountains and my answer comes. We are one, we are one, we are one. When I can't see that pure inside of me, when I can't find that peace inside my mind, I look up to the mountains and my answer comes. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. I look up to the mountains and my answer comes. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. Sing that with me. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. Like you mean it. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. We are all made up of the same star stuff. We are held and loved. We are one. We are all made up of the same star stuff. We are held and loved. We are one. Esri, 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 Meim Havaya. Esri, 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 Meim Havaya. I look up to the mountains and my answer comes. You are loved, you are loved, you are loved. We are one, we are one, we are one, we are one. We are one, we are one, we are one.